It's about to go down with Marc and Cathey, a live coaching show about dropping ideas. Marc and Cathey coach and have conversations with brilliant idea creators who are reimagining the world through the expression of their words, thoughts, and action.
Hey everybody, it's about to go down. My name is Marc Williams.
Hi, and I'm Cathey Armillas, and we have Paisley Elliot. She is a 7-year-old from Grapevine, Texas, and she is on fire. We cannot wait to talk to you about what Paisley has been doing, not only in Texas, but all over the world. She's been making such an impact, and Paisley is it. So this is so exciting. Paisley, really quick, thank you for being on the show with Marc and I. We're so excited. Can you tell everybody, because not everybody in our audience knows you or what you're doing, tell us how you started. Tell us that story about how you how you cared about the refugee kids that you heard about. Tell us that story. Let's start there.
So when I was at my old school, I heard this story about how refugees are forced to flee their homes because they have a choice to flee or die. And I knew I had to help. So when I got home, I had an arm full of stuffed animals. And I told my mom, if this makes me feel safe, then I think those kids will feel safe with them too. So that's how it all started. And I've been doing it ever since.
All right. So can I just say something, Cathey? My son has a bed full of stuffed animals, and now I am going to look at his bed of stuffed animals in a completely different way. Thank you, Paisley.
Yeah, totally. Paisley, that is so beautiful. And that was the start, right? So right. You were thinking about all these kids and you were worried about how they were feeling and being away from their families. And you didn't you gather a bunch of stuffed animals to send to them? That's what happened, yes. Right? How many did you collect?
About like 500, I would say.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So Paisley, one of the things that Marc and I do for a living is we talk to people about their ideas, and one thing that Marc and I agree with you is it is so special. It's like a special time in your life right now that you're 7 years old and you are a child and you're caring about children. It is so much more impact onto the world and to adults. People at this moment in your life are really listening to you because you're a child talking about children. Right, Marc? What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I got to tell you, if as an adult, if I said I was going to send 500 stuffed animals to children, they might say, that's nice. But that's strange, old man. But when you do it, it's so amazing. And Cathey, if we could also just ask, there's 29 weeks have gone by since you have been doing something else. So can you also tell us what you've been doing for the last 29 weeks?
So I heard about the all 628 kids down at the border that do not know where their family and friends are. So they had to sleep out in tents and probably scared, alone, and cold. So I thought that if I do it too, people would understand how much these kids are suffering.
So Marc, she has her own house. She has a bed to sleep in. She has a comfortable, warm house. And she's been choosing to sleep outside all this time. And Paisley, you've been asking people to join you as well, right? You've been urging people to join you. Were you thinking that by having people join you, they would be able to experience what you're talking about, to experience what the children might be going through?
Now, I wanted to ask this, because how did you convince other people to do the same thing? Because I can only imagine. I've got my house, I've got my bed, I've got my hot chocolate, I've got my TV. How do you convince other kids or other people to do the same thing, Paisley?
Well, some news reporters sometimes come out and do interviews on me, and I put out signs.
How could you not, Mark?
Good point.
No, really. See, this is the part where I think this is the power that you have right now, Paisley, being a child. I think when we see a child that could, easily have be living in her own house and go, oh, I really feel bad for these other kids. But she took this standpoint of like, no, I'm gonna experience what they're experiencing, and she's drawing attention to it. And every time she gets on the news and she's urging other people to do this with her. Paisley, you already have a really brilliant idea. One of the things I think, Mark and I were talking about all the awesome things that you're doing. And one thing that could be really good, is coming when you go to speak anytime, like, you're speaking to the city council in your area, right? Or when you go and you speak anywhere, it's, how can you come and have the position, understanding where the adults are coming from? And I'll let Mark explain that a little bit more, because Mark and I were talking about that.
Yeah, listen, Paisley, here's the deal. Here's what everybody needs to understand. Being a kid is so wonderful because people look at the things you do and they think it's so amazing. But Paisley, tell me if you agree with this. Then there comes a point where adults are like, yeah, but you're just a kid and you don't understand. And there's a point where they stop listening. Have you ever had that where adults sort of like don't listen anymore to what you said?
Kind of, right? And so what we and Cathey were thinking about is, you have all of these amazing ideas, and to make changes, you not only have to speak to kids, you've got to speak to adults, right? And if you want to speak to adults, you want them to not just think of you as a kid who's come up with some nice idea. You want them to think of you as a person who's come up with an amazing idea that they've got to put into action. And so we would love to make sure that when adults look at you, they don't just see a kid, they see somebody who's got a powerful idea that they need to put into action. Did I explain that correctly, Cathey?
Yeah, totally, Mark. Paisley, one of the things like right now, let's just talk about the situation that Paisley has. Paisley, you have went to your city council because there's an area in your city that there's an unpaved area. So there's no sidewalk on her way to school, Mark. And so she's gone before the city council and said, hey, you should pave this. There's a lot of kids that are being affected by this. And it puts them in harm's way. Because if they have to walk out onto the road, and it's a pretty main road right there, they're in danger. So Paisley, on behalf of all the children, Paisley, you went to the city council, right? And you stood on a little step ladder. It was very cute because you couldn't even reach the podium, and you're standing there on behalf of all children in your neighborhood, and you're speaking on behalf of them. But what did the city council end up telling you?
And that there's no money in the budget, so they can't pay it. So I'm raising the money myself, and I've already raised $3,000.
Woo, Paisley.
Yeah, Paisley, did they say how much money it would cost?
$80 per foot, and there are like 900 feet missing, so it's about 72,000.
Good math.
That is, yeah, I know. I was like, wait, I can't do that math. Not right now. I need a calculator. So Paisley, this is what you've got that adult, what we could call, Mark, an adult block, right? There's like a block down. We're like, that's a good idea, but it costs too much money, but we don't have money in the budget. But what if Paisley, every time you came and spoke to an adult, you were already thinking about the things that they were going to block you with? You already like, I understand it's expensive. I know the city has to do it. I understand that money's already allocated for other things.
I think, Cathey just said something that was really very important about thinking about the blocks, right? So Paisley, what if you're halfway there, right? You've already raised about $3,300. Your benchmark is about $7,200. what if you raise the $7,200 and they come up with another excuse? What other excuse do you think they might come up with?
Well, these people don't want it. Well, but what if they do and they're just making an excuse? Like they're already choosing for them.
Ooh. So that's interesting. Your thought is, if I say it's great you've come up with the money, but nobody really wants it, your response is, well, that may or may not be true, but you're answering for them. You're not thinking about what they would say, which, by the way, Cathey, reminds me of this. I heard Paisley say earlier that she heard about refugee children who were sleeping outside, probably scared. So she decided, I'm going to live the way they live.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with the stuffed animals. They might not have, right? So how do I live without, just like they do, so that they can have, right? And Paisley, if I'm correct, you also said that you invited your community leaders to go on a walk with you in the area that you're trying to fix, right?
Right.
And so far, you said that none of them have taken you up on your offer, correct?
Correct.
Right. But here's what's so genius about what you're doing. You're inviting them to walk. I want to say you were inviting them to walk into somebody else's shoes. But I love the fact that you talked about, one of the first times we talked to you, you mentioned something about, I think it was on your website, something about taking action in your own backyard. And I love the idea that you are trying to get people, Cathey, help me out with this. You know you're the concept queen, right? of getting other people to walk in someone else's own backyard, right? Walk and walk on the same street that other people are walking on, so you can see how hard it is. Sleep in your front yard so you can see how hard it is for other people to do that. So Cathey, I'm wondering if when Paisley is talking to these adults, how does she speak to them so that they can see or do as others?
Yeah, Paisley, I think you're empowering people to take action, quote unquote, metaphorically and in their own backyards, like literally and metaphorically, taking action, maybe actually sleeping in a tent and joining you on this crusade for the refugees and kids, the kids that are separated from their parents, the 628 kids that you're talking about at the border. What about, sometimes I think about too, that adults, what we do is our problem is we think about all the problems in the world. There's so many things to think about. I think one of the encouraging big things that you bring to this world, Paisley, in a really good way, you show us adults that we have to take action in our own backyard on something. There's so many things to take. So even if we weren't particularly even if the case that what you want to get people rallied around, one of the things I like on even a bigger, grander scale is that you're like, I'm taking action for something I care about. Just take action. Please join me. Please join me by sleeping in my tent. Please join me by sending stuffed animals. Please donate to My Now Foundation. And Paisley, and we'll talk about her website later, but she's doing amazing things that there's no stopping what Paisley's doing, right, Paisley? There's so many things you're doing. And so, at the end of the day, Paisley, you're kind of a mini motivational speaker. You're out there motivating people to take action, to be a Paisley, right? How can I be a Paisley? That's by standing up for something that I care about, that touches me.
What you said reminds me of something that Paisley said when we first had a conversation with her. Paisley, you said that when you heard your teacher talk about the refugees, it made your heart feel sad. You remember you said that?
Yes.
Do you think adults have hearts that sometimes feel sad?
Yes.
What would make the adults that you're talking about, when it comes to fixing their street, what would make their hearts feel sad about not fixing the street?
That if their kid was walking there and their kid got hurt, and if they weren't standing up for that, then it would probably be more the cost than the cost of a sidewalk.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yes, Paisley. Yes. That is exactly, Marc asked you the right question, Paisley, because when you feel something, you have to make other people feel the same thing that you feel. And that is a beautiful way. And not, it sounds kind of sad, but it's actually just a reality check of like, we care about money and where it's allocated and da, 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 da. At the end of the day, how would we feel if somebody that we, our own kid or somebody that we cared about or loved got hurt because of a sidewalk? Or how would we feel if our kids were separated from us? We can't feel that. If we can't feel it, unfortunately, we don't care about it. That sounds really like harsh and cold, but that's how adults think sometimes. Is there's so many things that they're thinking about that if they can't actually care about it, if they can't think about it, they can't care about it. If they can't feel it, they can't care about it. So
Hey,
Marc,
Paisley,
you're right.
Right? I got a question
Yeah.
for Paisley. What do you think of this idea? And in addition to asking those community leaders to take a walk with you on that street, what about asking them to bring their kids with them on a walk across that street? What do you think about that, Paisley?
That's a great idea, but what if they don't have kids?
She stumped me, Kat.
She did not. I knew that was coming. You didn't know it was coming? Good job, Paisley, by the way. Tell them to bring their neighbors or their nieces or nephews. Tell them to find a child to bring with. I think where Marc was heading is great. Invite them to bring a child
Invite them to bring a child, whether it's their own child or whether it's a child that they know, a neighbor. Have them bring a whole school of children. I don't know, but have them bring children with them, because you're right, Paisley. Just the way you inspire us because you're a kid who's taking a huge step and doing huge actions. A lot of what made your heart sad is what's happening to other children. So if you could get people to take action with their own children to see how much it would cost, how much it would really cost if you do nothing, what would happen to your kids? Oh, wow. That's powerful. I love that idea, Cathey. Have them bring other children.
Yeah. Find a child in your life, right?
I like that line, by the way. Find a child in your life. You're a concept queen even when you're not trying to be a concept queen. So Paisley, that's a great idea. You like the idea of talking to those adults. We've now answered your very tough question of what if they don't have kids. So Cathey, where do we go from here to get more adults to buy into Paisley's idea?
Well, first of all, again, I want to hold up Paisley as somebody that's in our world. She's a human in our world that's doing good. Paisley, if you look at Paisley's life, everywhere that she's personally affected or she sees something, she's taking action, right? Paisley, you see something that bothers you, you're a take action kind of girl. And I think her bigger message really that will sustain her whole life is that we need to take action right where we are, with who's around us, with what we can, with the power that we have. I really, Paisley, think that's your big message. And you can start by, and I love this idea. Marc had this idea for you, is come up with what the adults are going to throw at you. You come up with that first. Always think about whatever audience you're talking to and go, oh, they're probably going to tell me it's too expensive. They can't do it. It's not in the budget. Nobody else will want it. Answer those questions before they ask you.
Yes.
And then keep reminding people, Paisley, be like, this is what I care about. What do you care about? Like, I would ask people.
I like the question, what do you care about? But I also like the question, what makes you sad, or what makes your heart sad? Because I think that's such an emotional question that got us thinking about the kids, that might be I don't want to say it's a stronger question. Actually, I want to ask you, Paisley, which question works for you? What makes your heart sad, or what do you care about? Which question do you like most?
What makes your heart sad?
So that's the question we can go with. What makes your heart sad? That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I agree with Cathey. It's all about taking action. I don't know if you've ever heard this, Paisley, but some people talk about it, and some people be about it or do about it. You are a doer about it. How did you become such a doer and not just a talker?
Well, I mean, if you just talk, most people won't listen to you, because I mean, they would think you're just a kid. I mean, if you do things, then they would probably join in, because you see how hurtful it would be if this was your child, or if this was your family.
Got it. So I think, Cathey, one of the things that Paisley should think about, as far as your idea and what you pinpointed on as take action, is anytime you're talking about this idea, leading off with the action that you have taken, right? Because we can all sit around and just talk about it, but you want to be an example. So you want to come out and say, I think this is what makes my heart sad, and this is what I did. This is the action that I took, and this is the action that I took, and this is the next action that I think we should take. So what makes your heart sad, and what action are you going to take in your own backyard?
What do
Cathey,
you think about that? Yeah, I love this. Paisley, what do you think?
I like it too.
You like it? I mean, Paisley, could you imagine saying this every time you talk? Like, say, hey, I'm one girl that's caring about this one thing. What makes you sad? What will you take action on?
I can imagine it.
Can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine having conversations with people like that, and being able to talk to people and remind people about the things that matter, about what makes them sad, about what they can take action on. Ultimately, Marc, I think that no matter, in our perspective, where we're trying to help her causes, I think the best thing that we can show Paisley is to get people in that emotional spot as quickly as possible, to make them feel those things, to make them feel sad, to make them feel, like you said, to make them feel what she felt. And so, Paisley, it's okay to say those things. Tell people, I felt really sad, and I want to know what makes you feel sad. I love that, Marc, asking people, what makes you feel sad? What makes you want to take action?
How crazy is it that it's that it's okay to feel sad?
Yeah.
It's okay to feel sad, because that will inspire action. Ooh.
We got to hear from Paisley, though. What I heard, Paisley, that you want to give a TED Talk someday.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Tell us if you were going to give a TED Talk tomorrow, what would you talk about? Tell me.
I would talk about the rights of a child and what they deserve in their lifetime.
Ooh, okay. Tell us more. What are the rights of a child? Tell us a little bit more about that. I want to hear.
Well, education, health, and hunger.
Mm-hmm. And then what would be your idea? TED Talks are about ideas. What would be your idea to make sure that every child gets makes sure that their rights are being taken care of?
Well, I would give speeches and write letters, and I would call them. and be annoying to them.
Because Marc, she's a take action kind of girl, right? Like she's taking action. She's like, I'm gonna call you. She finds the people she needs to call, and you call, right? Right, Paisley?
Yeah.
You write letters. So maybe it's advocating, right? Maybe your idea would be to advocate for children's rights, like you were doing.
Mhm.
Is to be the annoying person. That's that's calling and giving speeches and standing up for children.
Well, I got to tell you, doesn't that work sometimes when kids ask and ask and ask and ask?
Oh, it works. And Paisley, you probably already know that, right? If you
Right.
ask your mom something a bunch of times, at some point she says yes, right?
Yeah, I usually ask Joe Biden those things.
Oh,
Yeah, she's writing to Joe Biden, she's writing to the president, she's writing to city council, she's writing to state representatives. Paisley, that is kind of, I think, what you could really talk about is find the right, maybe it's like, maybe your TED Talk would be find the right person to talk to get it done. Like get to that right person. That could be her idea, because that's kind of her special sauce. Don't you kind of, isn't that what you do, Paisley? You figure out who you're supposed to talk to and you go talk to them.
Yeah, I figure out who I should be annoying to first.
That's a TED Talk right there.
I love that because that is so you, right? We've heard be persistent, be persistent, be persistent, but figure out who you can be annoying to the most.
Go straight to that person. Yeah, I love that. And Paisley, tell us too, you write your own speeches, right? Like when you're going to go talk to people, how do you do that? Tell us a little bit about how you do that. Do you sit down and write out thoughts, or what do you write out your speech? How do you do it?
Well, first I write out the main idea. Then I write out a couple ideas I should do about that. Then I put it all into one long strip, which is going to be my speech.
Wow.
That you're already born to be a TED talker. You talk about an idea and support it with other ideas. That's beautiful, Paisley. I love that. Marc, what do you think about her idea for the TED Talk?
I just love how unique it is to focus on annoying people.
I love that. It's a metaphor.
It's funny because we often think about that as a bad thing. Like, don't annoy people, don't. But it's like, in order to get things done, sometimes you do have to annoy people, and you have to find the right person to annoy to get things done. And you don't annoy them by being bothersome. You annoy them with a topic that if they really listen to you, it would make them sad to hear what you have to say. And then as they think about what do I do, well, then that's when Paisley comes out and every other kid comes out and tells them, this is what I've done, right? I've taken action. What about you? When are you going to stop talking about it and take action in your own backyard? I love that TED Talk. What's the very first thing you would say in your TED Talk?
I would probably say find the person to be annoying to and then stick with it. And then find another person and then keep on going.
And keep going and going and going.
Oh, Paisley, it's such good advice. And Marc, you're right. I sometimes I think it takes a child to give you a different perspective. Like we automatically think annoying is negative. It's not negative. It's finding out what you care about and going and being, it's another way of saying being persistent to the point of being relentless. Like don't take no for an answer. And then go find the next person. I love that she even followed it up. Find the next person, find the next person. Paisley, tell me what advice you would have for kids, other kids that are your age?
That you can be change makers and peacemakers. You can lead the way. And if you just change one small thing on this world, then you can change the whole world, even if you do one small thing.
Oh my gosh. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what, this is the beauty that you bring to the world, Paisley, is that it's not, I don't want to take away from any of the work that you're doing, Paisley. You are doing great work in everywhere you're doing, but I think your biggest asset is that you're teaching people to be a change maker and a peacemaker, and to affect an area, that little thing that they can control and affect.
Yes, because here's what I would say to that. Some people would say sleeping on, in your front yard. I mean, what difference is that going to make? But one night of sleeping in your front yard, 29 weeks of doing it has made a huge impression. Some people might say donating your stuffed animals. I mean, what is that really going to do? But by doing that, you have brought so much attention to this issue that you are making a change. So yes, I think that's a wonderful idea about if you can change one small thing, if you could do from a small person, if you could do one small thing, what would it be? Yeah. You're amazing, Queen Paisley.
You are. And that's your gift, Paisley. Just know that that's your gift. It's not, I would maybe think about your gift as being not on any one given topic, but your gift is to motivate people to make a change in the way that they can. And that is a bigger gift than anything. Don't get me wrong, the things that you care about, people will follow you. People will be like, yeah, I do care about refugee kids. I do care about children that are, have been yanked away from their parents. And I'm behind you on that. But you're also motivating and allowing the freedom and autonomy, just the space and freedom for other kids and adults and humans to join you, to do some kind of change.
Oh, Paisley, if I could ask you to write down 2 words, and you don't really have to write them down now, but there's such a teacher in me to even...
Totally, pop quiz.
Actually, there'd probably be 3 words, and the 3 words would be sad, annoying, and action. Sad, annoying, and action. Those are 3 powerful words that resonated with me today. Paisley, we've had quite a conversation about your idea over the last several minutes. What have you thought about our conversation? That was a tough question.
Wait, what did you say?
I was wondering, what did you think about the conversation we just had about your idea? Did it change? Did it get better? Is your brain filled up with even more ideas? Well, what are your thoughts now that we've had this conversation about your idea?
Well, it changed so it changed from good to amazing, because every word made it more and more amazing.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, yes, right. And well, it starts with you being amazing. So understand that. And I'm sure if people have not already been looking up all of the wonderful things that you're doing, they are probably curious about learning more. So Paisley, I understand that you have a website where people can learn more about the work you're doing. So what's the website?
It's called paisleysPals.org.
paisleysPals.org. Everybody needs to sign up to become one of Paisley's pals. And every one of Paisley's pals needs to understand what makes you feel sad. And every one of Paisley's pals needs to understand how important it is to find the next person you can annoy, so that not only can you take action, but you can get those people to take action too. All hail Queen Paisley.
Yes.
Paisley, this has been absolutely fun and amazing. It's amazing no matter what. And we can't wait to continue to follow all of the different things that you're doing and hear about those amazing things as you get older and wiser and more impactful, not annoying, not sad, but as you continue to take more action. So Paisley, thank you for giving us your time, sharing with the world your ideas. And for anybody else out there who wants to conquer and change the planet, just like Queen Paisley is doing, send us an email at marcandcathey@gmail.com. Check out our website. It's About to Go Down web show. Let us know about the ideas that you would like to drop on the world, and we would be happy to have a conversation with you, because each and every time we have these conversations, Cathey, it's about to go down.